Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot and a member of PMDG's tech team. In today's video I want to talk a little bit about what actually makes a study level add-on a study level add-on. As you know, the majority of aircraft add-ons available for Microsoft Flight Simulator do cover the normal procedures and a little bit more, usually. Now, there are some aircraft that really set themselves apart from the mass though, and I'm specifically talking, for example, about the Phoenix A320, the Leonardo MD-80, the PMDG 737s. And the amount of add-ons like these is really small. So let's have a look into what actually makes those add-ons different. And in this video I want to shed some lights on some of the stuff that normal flight simmers would probably not look at so much, but that is actually going on in the background in these aircraft. And that is something that I would say is not as easy to spot, but that really makes the experience in those aircraft complete. Now, many of you know that I've used the PMDG 737, the FSX version back in the day, for my 737 type rating. And obviously, while I could not learn any hand flying skills from it, I could learn a lot about the aircraft systems. And aircraft systems is something that is very easy to say, but what exactly does aircraft systems mean? So looking at systems, a lot of you would look at, for example, the overhead panel and look at the amount of switches that's simulated up there and the response you get. So if I flick an engine, a hydraulic pump off, eventually I will get a low pressure light and, well, that's about it, is it? So, yes, that's one way to see aircraft systems. Another way to see them, however, is what's going on behind all those lights and all those switches. So, let's continue looking at the hydraulic system. I brought the hydraulic indicator up on screen over here on the lower display unit, and we can see at the moment we have a quantity of 80% in System A. And that is something that recently changed a couple months back during the beta period of the 737. Or actually, I think it changed after the original version was released already. And previously, we used to have 80% quantity on the ground and 100% in flight, because the landing gear would be extended. And that data actually came right from a certified simulator of the real 737. And that stuff was in that simulator for 20 years. Only here in a flight simulation it actually popped up that somebody said like, hey, why do I have a quantity indication of 100% in flight? It should be 80. And then I went on and had a look in the real aircraft, like, okay, if I do that now, then what's actually going to happen? And like that we figured out that indeed in the real aircraft the quantity is used in order to retract the landing gear, and the quantity of that hydraulic fluid is then stuck in the landing gear mechanisms when the landing gear is up and locked. And only when the landing gear is actually down, we will get the quantity to increase. So that's what's going on in the background there. Now, of course, that would still be easy just to say, okay, if landing gear up, then show quantity this, if landing gear down, then show quantity that. But that's not how it works in a study level aircraft. In study level aircraft, we actually simulate the entirety of the hydraulic quantity and how it is allocated to the different systems. So, for example, when the landing gear transfer unit is in action, then we are going to see some reaction on the hydraulic displays, and that is what really makes a study level add-on just that. So it's not just add plus minus that, but it's actually simulating the fluid in behind, which is something that you would never ever get to see in a non-study level add-on. And even in a study level add-on, if you don't know that that is happening in the background, you would only think like, yeah, okay, it's the indicator that's drawn up here. So for example, what happens if the quantity decreases but it's still put under high demand? Well, then of course the fluid is gonna heat up, and eventually we are going to see overheat lights coming on. So it's that kind of stuff that's going on in all of the systems in study level aircraft that does set them apart. Now, why is it actually important that this is simulated, or why does it even play a role at all? Well, the reason behind that is that in case something abnormal happens, the systems are going to respond accordingly, even without the developer having to program the exact sequence of what should happen. Now, there are some cases where study level aircraft don't react correctly in case this happens. For example, if we shut an engine down during a single engine taxi in the PMDG 737, then we are going to see for a short period of time the master caution illuminate, and we see several lights illuminating. Now in the real aircraft that is not the case. We do see a master caution, but only electric, and then when you look to the overhead you see the drive light that's caused the master caution to come on. Now, one could say that, okay, so they did not simulate correctly how the system responds to an engine shutdown. Well, that is only half the truth, because the reality is that if you see those other master caution lights come on, for example IRS, because the IRS, the left side is without power for a very short moment while the transfer between the transfer buses takes place. So you see the source off light come on second, but immediately when you shut the engine down, you can see the transfer bus off light illuminate, which indicates that the entire transfer bus on the respective side is unpowered. In the meantime, then the mechanism kicks in, and then the right generator will eventually power the left transfer bus, or the other way around, depending on which engine you shut down. And in that meantime, the transfer bus is unpowered, and that leads to the IRS being temporarily without power. So what's going on then when you have a bug like this in the background? What's most likely going on, and I'm saying most likely because it is my understanding of how the aircraft operates, but I'm not the developer, but what is most likely going on then is that there is simply a mechanism missing that would suppress a master caution if the power is restored within a certain amount of time. So it's not like they program, okay, if you shut that engine down, then you are going to get these lights illuminate, but it is rather, the engine shuts down, therefore the generator kicks out, the transfer bus is going to be unpowered, then the different relays kick in and the different switches close, and then it takes like a second or so, or a split second, until the transfer bus is powered once again. And the transfer bus being unpowered then in turn leads to respective systems not being powered for a short period of time, causing the respective responses from the particular systems. Now, this kind of stuff gets important when we talk about study level, because the term study level itself implies that you want to study something, and studying something is quite different than just learning normal procedures and going to fly. If you want to study something, you actually need to have a close look into what's happening in the background on those systems, because you want to get that big picture understanding of how all the different aircraft systems interact with one another. And that is easier said than done, and there are only very few developers actually simulating that happening. And the three ones that come to my mind here are, as said, Phoenix, Leonardo and PMDG. Of course, back in the P3D days we had Flight Sim Labs doing the same stuff, and that was really nice. Now it's Phoenix doing it on the 320. But this is the kind of depth that goes into a study level aircraft, and that sets a study level aircraft apart from all the other aircraft that we have available on the market. On the vast majority of add-ons, if you just take the normal procedures section of an AFCOM, then you will be able to press all the associated buttons and you might get associated responses. But that is not the same as actually simulating how the systems do work in the background. And this stuff shows when you finally go into non-normal operation of the aircraft, because if the system is simulated in its entirety, then that means that the non-normal operation is not something that you specifically have to program, but it is something that the aircraft is going to react to all on its own without the explicit pilot input, because the systems actually react the way they do because they are programmed the way they work in real life. Now, this was a pretty theoretical video, and I do hope that you lasted with me all the way to the end and that you got some idea of what's going on in some of those high-end payware aircraft that we see on the market versus some of the rather lower-end aircraft. I hope that you have enjoyed today, and if you did, please like, comment and subscribe, and do let me know what you think about what makes a study level aircraft. With that said, thank you very much for your attention. I am really looking forward to welcome you all again in the future on another video. Until then, do like, comment and subscribe, and if you really want to support the channel, you can do so through the Buy Me a Coffee link that you can find in the video description below. For now, thank you very much, enjoy your holidays, enjoy New Year, and I'm looking forward to see you all again very soon.